Golly, bro. Guys, I am your host, Marvel's Ant-Man, and I'm here to tell you that DC is actually better than Marvel. As you can tell by my title, I really enjoyed the new Batman movie so much that Batman could have my babies if he wanted to. I've got a lot of thoughts, opinions, and other things that I've been hearing about the game. Game? This isn't a game! Am I insane? No, I'm doing something different on the channel. This is crazy, guys. Guys, this is a one in a lifetime opportunity. You're never gonna get anything like this again. I'm going back to playing games. I've got a Sniper Elite 4 video coming up. This is like the 8th wonder of the world here. Me uploading something that's not about games. But my love for Batman is too strong. Strong like Bruce Wayne with his big muscles. Robert Pattinson. Oh. So, let me introduce you to this movie. The pre-release news that went around. So this movie had a lot to live up to. The hype was insane. You know, there's a movie called The Dark Knight that exists in the world. So this movie really had a lot to achieve to be a part of the Batman universe. And it did it really well, but we'll get into that a bit later. One thing that I heard people complaining about a few weeks before the movie's release is that it was stated that it's a PG-13 film, which a lot of people didn't like the sound of, because, you know, in every Batman movie, you have to get, like, brains gushing out of people's skulls. You have to get, like, dick and ball torture. You've got to get it all. But this is simply not true. This Batman movie proved that you don't need to have, like, all of this mature content to be a good movie. It was great. And for me personally, this movie had a lot to live up for as well, because the Joker movie from 2019, I think, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't know what it is about it, but I've just never seen anything like it, and I loved it. So I think the cast that were chosen were brilliant for this movie. Robert Pattinson did a really good job. I think it wasn't really him, it was the writing that kind of let the movie down a little, but it's really minor to me anyway. I know to a lot of people it was much more major, but again, we'll get to that later. And the real star of the show was the Riddler, what's his name, Paul Dano, I think it is. He did an amazing job. At times it was really uncomfortable to watch him. Like, sometimes he'd giggle maniacally like he's the Joker, but I get what they were going for. But my only concern with the Riddler's performance was sometimes it felt like they were trying to replicate the comics too much, to the point where they just looked at the comics, looked at the dialogue, and were like, oh, the Riddler goes ha 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 here. So Paul, could you repeat that? Like, it was just kind of uncomfortable and, dare I say, cringe. But that might have been for just me. I don't know about anyone else. I've not seen anyone else complaining about that. But that's my one very small complaint, and it only happened very irregularly, especially towards the end. I think you guys will know what I'm talking about if you've watched the movie. So the cinematography in this movie was exceptional. There were some amazing shots. I think I've got desktop backgrounds for life at this point. There is so many great shots. It was really artistic, and you can tell, like, with the Joker and this new Batman, they don't really go for like the Marvel type of route where, like, okay, we need to get a storyline that's, as formulaic as possible. So it's got its little love scene, its little kiss scene. It's got a ton of action, some really bad story. No, this movie, like, it really focused on, like, the whole artistic style. And I really enjoyed that about it. And that's what made it so great, cinematography-wise. They got some really abstract shots, some really creative shots. It was really cool to look at. Like, it had me half tented in the cinema. I've watched a few reviews. I've also seen Moist Critical's Moist Meter on the movie, and what I will say is he spoke about how there's a romance that develops and it's really weird and really unexpected. Without spoiling, I can't talk too much about it, but I will say I think the romance was meant to be in the first place, and who cares like how quickly it develops. It's kind of a must to have it. So in my eyes, I'm not complaining. I thought it was, it's not the best, but it's not something that I'd really complain about either. It was really minor. The movie is, I think, 3 hours long, or it touches upon the 3 hour mark nearly. And whilst in some situations people would be like, wait, that's way too long, I can't watch through all that. Like, it's just the Batman. It's not it's not trying to send a message to society, some political statement. But this movie, although it does feel long, it felt like the full 3 hours, but the whole time it was really fun to watch, really exciting. There was never a dull moment. It was, if you watch it for yourself, you'll understand. Like, it feels long, but that's not necessarily a bad thing in this case. One thing I can criticize the movie on is that even for me, I've read through a bunch of Batman comics. I've played the Arkham games and the Telltale games. You could consider me an expert in this field. Even for me, it was really difficult to understand the story at times. I could tell it was a good story. It was difficult for me to understand the plot at times. Never mind, I can only imagine how confusing it was for someone that's not read the comics or played the games or done anything like that in the past. Like, I can only imagine how difficult it'd be to grasp, like, who is this gangster man? Who is this penguin? I don't see any wings on him. Okay, it doesn't go as deep as that, but at times, like, it'd be really hard to understand all the characters, remember all their names, and that's one major flaw, I'd say. And another, not as major, but it's still something that I would like to complain about, is I get that it's meant to be a dark and moody movie, but I think it's unnecessary to have everyone mumbling at all times. 90% of the movie, I'm trying to hear what these people are saying, but they're like going Lil Pump mode, like mumble rapping their lines, and I just don't understand. I can't hear. I'm trying to listen out for it. Like, you could have the biggest speakers in the world, and you'd still not be able to hear those mumbles. It's like, yeah, that's pretty much it. That I didn't like how much they mumbled. It was really hard to catch, like, names of specific characters, but that one's quite minor. Another thing that Moist Critical pointed out is that Batman doesn't really seem to value human life. And I've got two explanations for this. My theories. One is that he's only 2 years into being Batman. It's all really new to him. Maybe he isn't as clever as he does become later on. Maybe that's why, like, he did this car chase and he didn't really understand the chaos that it would cause. That's one of my, like, reasons for it. Another one is that I feel like, I'm gonna be brutally honest with you guys, the directors did not think about it. Like, they were just like, wow, this is such a cool big explosion, let's keep that in. But they didn't think and realize Batman doesn't kill people. Of course, he didn't kill them like directly, but I can see why it would seem a bit flawed, his moral message in this, his moral code in this movie. Because at times it does seem like he isn't really just trying to save people, he's just wanting some of that sweet, sweet action, wants to give people a knuckle sandwich. One more complaint I have, I know this review is a bit of a mess, it's all a big jumble, but one more complaint I have before I wrap this up is Batman doesn't utilize the gadgets that he's known for a lot of the time. There is a couple instances where he like takes out his little wingsuit or whatever, but that's just like one or two scenes. But I know for a fact he has way more gadgets than that. Like, that's kind of what he's known for. Like, without his gadgets, he's just a really strong guy. But with the gadgets, that's what makes him so unique. Like, how he has all this tech up his sleeve. And in this movie, I don't know if I just didn't catch it, but from what I saw, he really doesn't utilize a lot of the tools that he should have, especially since he's 2 years in. I'd expect him to have some like advanced stuff, but he has like a DIY wingsuit. I think he uses his Batarang like once, I don't remember. But yeah, that's one of my complaints. But I get that, you know, maybe they'll just save that for the next movie, which I think has been announced at this point, and there's a cliffhanger at the end, so it's most definitely gonna be a second movie. And to conclude this mess of a review, I think that overall the Batman 2022 movie is really great. I'm actually going to have to rewatch it to understand everything, and I will be going to rewatch it in a few weeks. Maybe a second time, maybe a third time, I haven't decided yet. And I am highly anticipating the sequel already. It's been like 2 days since I've watched it. I'm already out here waiting for news of the sequel. It's really got me excited for the future of this new Batman era. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. I think I'm not gonna become a movie reviewer if that's what you guys are hoping for. You know, I think I'm just gonna stick to my games. I'm gonna play Sniper Elite today, and I'm gonna play some and I'm gonna play some Oblivion. That's pretty much it. So, see ya.